Heaven and hell do exist after death, but you can choose in which you go. You jokingly choose hell, and when you arrive there, you hear Satan saying, "Finally, someone, a friend." "Hello!" I yelled into the darkness surrounding me. My voice rattled off unseen walls, deep rumbling echoes built up into a dreadful cacophony that seemed to swallow me whole. "Hello! Hello! Oh. My skin became goose-pimpled, and a shiver ran up my spine. "Please, I was joking. Death, if you're there still, please, 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 plead." I could feel cold rock wall to my right, but nothing in any other direction. With no other option, I plunged into the darkness, always keeping the wall within reach. The ground beneath me was uneven, and I had to step cautiously so as not to trip. As I walked, the stench of sulfur began to grow, soon intensifying and wrapping itself tightly around my throat. After a time, I sensed that the passageway was leading me downward. The wall itself began to twist, and I knew I was corkscrewing deep into the earth. No, not the earth. I was somewhere else. But if it was hell, why was it empty? I don't know how long I crept along in that dreadful, unrelenting silence, that blinding darkness, but eventually a dim orange light became visible some way below. I almost wept with relief. Gradually, as I descended towards the light, my surroundings became less dim, and I could see I was on a wide staircase of sorts, although a ramp might be more accurate, as there were no steps. I glanced down at my feet, and to my surprise, I recognized the sight of the black-gray ground I stood upon. It was a type of igneous rock, the type that forms when lava cools and dies. The ramp eventually led into a vast hollow carved out of black rock walls. It was much brighter in the room than the stairwell, although shadows danced menacingly on the walls. I saw first a great rock table in the center of the room, around which was a circular path of white ground, marked with the telltale black veins of marble. Around that, 12 skeletons rested against the chamber's walls, rusty chains around their necks bolting them to the rock behind. There were iron keys lying by each of their legs. Could they have freed themselves, but chose not to? I crept towards the table. On it lay the remains of a great skeleton, much larger than the others, its arms folded proudly across its chest. In its arms lay a longsword, its blade a shimmering crystal blue. The huge bones that must have once made up the creature's wings lay spread across the table's wide surface. An object rested on the creature's skull, the light source. It was almost blinding to gaze upon the chipped red teeth that made up the terrible crown. Each tooth shone like a fiercely burning ruby, like a flame. On the side of the table was carved an epitaph. "Here lies the body of the morning star, bringer of light, the true Son of God. Long did he protect his children from the angels' lies. No longer he can. By his side rests his eternally loyal apostles. Here lies the body of the morning star. He awaits to be avenged. He awaits a friend." I don't know how long I sat in that room, surrounded by death with my arms wrapped tightly around me. Hours, at least. Days, perhaps. I don't know why I eventually got to my feet and removed the crown of teeth from the skull and placed it on my head. But I did. And as skin around my shoulder blades ripped and bled to reveal the growths underneath, as the eye sockets of the 12 skulls around the table began to flame and smolder, as I picked up the sword from the skeleton on the table and saw in my mind's eye the death of God and the angels' crimes, I realized that everything was about to change. This story was written by Nick of Night. Read by a bag of Vicodin. Thank you for listening.